What's up, guys? So today I want to talk about Dan Bilzerian. So he kind of blew up the internet like a week ago. Basically, there's a few articles written about his Instagram, which went pretty viral. And basically, he's this guy who posts these crazy pictures on Instagram because he's super rich off of a poker online website business sort of thing and other ventures. And so he's freaking rich as heck. He's not all his pictures are on just how rich he is though. Like, sure, you see that. You see like all these pictures of expensive cars, these mansions, these food items, blah 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 blah. This apparently it's some sort of intricate pool design where the water just keeps going. I don't know what it's called, but you get the point. He's also doing all these crazy stuff, buying all these guns, these rockets, these cannons, grenade launchers, and he's posting this stuff on his Instagram. And the biggest thing though is that he also has all these pictures with these women and so forth. And so there's a lot of crazy reaction out there for this guy, and honestly I just want to put it on the table outright. I think honestly he can do what he wants. Like, that's his money. I think that consequence wise, like, you always want, like, that's the only real drawback to making decisions. It's like, bear in mind the consequences. You do drugs, you have consequences for those drugs: addiction, bad health, potential depression, etc. And so that's like literally my only warning all the time to people. It's just like, you can do whatever you want, just bear in mind the consequences. Some things aren't worth the consequences, but some other things really don't have that many consequences. Like, I mean, buying an expensive car, like, I really don't think there's a big problem with that. Really, there's no real drawback. If you earn that money fair and square, you can spend it how you want. So basically his Instagram's like this crazy thing which is blowing up the internet, where there's like these pictures where he has like dozens of naked women, and he's on these yachts and stuff, and he has a few other rich people which he goes to parties with, and it's like every freaking picture has like a guy to girl ratio of like 10 to 1. And so you get this sort of picture of him. And obviously, I watched an interview with him, and honestly, like, that's a part of his life, but it's not like his whole life. Like, listening to him, actually, he's not like this douchebag that you make him out to be based on these Instagram pictures. It's very much like reality TV shows, and how they are like not exactly how real people are freaking. And somewhat like me and my YouTube channel as well. Like, my videos are pretty long, but at the end of the day they are a small snapshot of what I like to do for like 5 to 10 minutes in a 24-hour day. And then you don't know what the freak I do for the other like 20 hours. And so I could be a completely different person. And judging just on my YouTube, you'd think, oh, this is all this guy does. And it's like, no. It looks like I spend all my freaking time making these videos on YouTube, but no, it's like a small percentage of my day. Anyhow, back to this Dan Bilzerian guy. Dan Bilzerian. The one thing I have a problem with though is the fact that these women like seem to be gold diggers. So what happens when you lose all your money and all these women just leave? How confident are you that they will leave? And if I were to ask that guy himself, he'd probably respond with something like, I'm never going to lose my money, I'm going to constantly be rich. And it looks like he does. Like, he literally has that much money that he probably may never go broke. It's just, I'm fairly certain about that based off his pictures of like stacks and stacks of money and all the stuff he's spending it on. But still, like, doesn't that, like, I mean, sure, I'm sure it's different from most people, and that's probably his response to it. But I feel like everyone, to some degree, is going to feel this sort of level of distaste or whatever feeling. I don't know how to describe it. This feeling of unease when you realize that all these people only like you for your money. Well, that may not be true. Like, he's probably has male friends that like him for how he is, and maybe one or two female friends that do. But like, it bothers me to a certain point where it's like, honestly, like, at least from what I can tell, it's very, very uncomfortable to me, the fact that all these girls seem to be there simply because of the money. And it really got me thinking, it's like, how did these girls even find out about this guy? How did they meet this guy? And it's like, it's very strange. Maybe he met them through his connections, through whatever he does. I mean, he has all this money. He can go to expensive places, go to freaking modeling shoots or to the nightclubs, whatever. However he meets these girls, at the end of the day, it's like, if I was in his scenario, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that, because, like, sure, it's great hooking up with all these girls, as he very much well implies in all his Instagram captions, but the fact that it's more or less prostitution, and the idea that these girls like him for just his money, it's just like, it doesn't do it for me. It's like, even if you never lose your money and you still got money for the rest of your days, so there's not even a chance that you'll lose all your money. Even that, if that is the possibility, having only people there who would rather have sex with your money rather than you, well, that's not really true, but more or less indirectly it kind of is. That it's kind of strange. I really think it's just a weird dynamic. There's a programming in females, not all females, but like in certain females, where it's like they follow people who have a lot of money. They're attracted to people with a lot of power, with a lot of money, and so forth. I think it's a tribal evolutionary thing, so that the females can survive better. They have a better chance of survival with these types of people. And same thing with me. I mean, a lot of people like me have this sort of gene where they have this proclivity to avoid gold diggers. And logically it makes sense. Like, evolutionarily, like, I guess you could spin it and say that you have better survivability chance if you avoid gold diggers, because there's a chance that they'll leave you if you lose your money, and that sometimes happens to people, and then they steal everything from you, and then you're gonna die, or for whatever other reason. Let's say these types of people are just very sporadic. I don't know. I don't really understand exactly. I'm trying to logically explain why we avoid gold diggers, but I'm having a hard time coming up with things. And so, regardless though, as far as Dan goes, that's the only thing I really have a problem with. Like, it's those situations that's just like, I don't really know what to think, because he's a guy where it's like, based off what I've seen from him, and I may be completely wrong, but it's like, he probably didn't have that, he probably wouldn't have all these girls doing all these crazy stuff if he didn't have all that money. So it makes you think, like, what the heck is going on? Like, how can you trust these girls? How can you trust any girls at all after that sort of ordeal, where it's like, these people only like you for your money, or maybe they like you for other reasons as well, but they won't even give you a chance without that money. It's just like that irks me to a certain extent. Um, so honestly, it very much confuses me, and it opens up a little bit of a discussion. Like, if you had that amount of money, would you ever like use it to that extent? Because for me personally, there just wouldn't be any real satisfaction when you know that you're flaunting your money, and that is the reason, that's partially the reason that these girls are interested. And I don't know, like, literally, I literally feel like some people who are rich would just be better off hiding their money, but at the same time that puts you again at that situation where it's like you a lot the truth be told, a lot of these people would not give you your time of day without that money, so hiding it kind of puts you on the back burner as well. So it's this dramatic dynamic. It's a very controversial sort of thing that I'm still trying to work through. You know, there's people saying that, oh, you can still get beautiful girls without money at all. And then there's people who are like Dan Bilzerian, and he's like freaking on yachts all day with all these naked girls, and it's just like, it really just, it's one of those mind bogglers. It's like, should I even give a crap that these girls only like you for your money or not? I don't know. So it's really a mind-boggling thing, and I really don't know what to say about it. Honestly, it's like I'm hoping maybe I'm hoping I freaking misread the photos and so forth, and I'm hoping that these girls maybe met him prior to knowing he had all that money, which I highly doubt. And I'm hoping these girls like him not just for his money, and would not just desert him if he lost all his money. But again, I doubt that. And no, like, if I was him and I knew those things, that would just make me very unsatisfied and somewhat uneasy about those girls. Why? It's just like they like you more for the fact that you have all this stuff to spend on, rather than the fact that you're you, which is somewhat disturbing. At the end of the day, though, I do have to side with him in certain ways, because having money pretty much implies that you were successful, you set a goal and you achieved it, and you worked hard and you did it, preferably in a legitimate, legal way. And that's an accomplishment that not a lot of people are capable of, and it's something to be respected and admired. And so I can see why it's a very logical and decent thing for people to flock towards people with money. But at the same time, I think that if a girl cannot have a good time with you without you having to spend boatloads of money, whether or not you can afford to do that, let's say you're super rich, you have all the money in the world and you can afford to do it, and it's pocket change. But if a girl can't have fun with you and be with you and so forth without all those things, then it's like she's literally there for your money. And I mean, that puts me at unease. And sure, like, let's say you're not even looking for a wife at the moment, just for hookups. And so this is probably where Dan Bilzerian's at. Like, from his photos, it looks like he doesn't give a crap. He's at a point in his life where he's just looking for hookups with these girls and so forth. So even then, it's like, it's not so far off from prostitution, and that it's just a weird dynamic to me. ideally, I think the ideal situation would be to show a girl that you are successful and so forth without flaunting your money, and having her like you without you having to spend boatloads on her, and having, you know, having this girl being able to like you to an extent where she is willing to hook up with you and so forth without you having to spend boatloads on her. And then at that point, when you're certain, then maybe you can spend boatloads on her, but I would always be a little uneasy about that. So it's a very strange thing. I mean, look at it this way. If Dan all of a sudden went broke and he didn't have all that clothing, money, and so forth, would those girls stick around? Again, I've said that like a few times already, but it really puts like a, it's really like one of those mind bogglers. It's like, probably not. But at the same time, money also sort of implies that you are like you've achieved something, that you have a reputation and so forth, and those are things that are attractive and garner respect. So it's like, it's partially right, partially not. Honestly, I honestly don't know what to think, other than the fact that I would literally do what I just said, like only casually mention my money, and at the same time realize that the girl only I would more or less would be fine with me regardless if I had to spend all that money on her or not. So if I didn't spend any money at all on her, no fancy dinners or anything, would she still be interested? Again, it's complicated, because the girl might be smart. She may be one of those intellectual gold diggers who realize that you're really, really rich, but knows that she will have to stick it through the long haul before she gets anything out of you. So she'll be like, oh yeah, I don't mind, I don't need expensive dinners, I just love being around you. And so those are those very strange scenarios. I don't know if there's ever a good answer. I think it's part of human nature in a way. Honestly, it's literally, I don't know. I'll leave it up for discussion in the comments below. And as you can see, personally myself, it's so complicated and situational to the extent that I really don't have a good answer for this guy or anything. But that's all I gotta say. As always, like, favorite, comment, subscribe, peace.